Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Winter's Wish, continuing Kuga's route. So, I swear I played this yesterday, but we're in the row houses. I don't remember what. Oh, we were just in the town. Right, we're patrolling with Yuichi because Kuga was told to stay home and stare at the wall. So, anyway. Huh. Isn't this. Isn't this the row house where the form folk and her owner from the Kamakiri case lived? The tracks really lead here. Yeah, they lead inside. Did they get dragged into another big mess? Man, they've got the worst luck. They definitely do. I don't know, that seems sus as fuck. Although I felt bad for Otone and Mitsu, I didn't deny it. Of all the cases the Oniwaban had dealt with recently, the Kamakiri case had been one of the biggest, but the Hanzo case was just as big. But it turned out to be bigger, to be fair. I couldn't believe they were unlucky enough to be involved in both in such a short span of time. Spacey, there's a chance Hanzo's inside right now. They might be in danger. You're right. Thinking about it gave me an even stronger sense of urgency. Yuichi reached for a short sword, and I followed suit by gripping my knife. A fight against Hanzo, the man we'd been seeking, could start the second we opened the door. Ready? On the count of 3. 1. Mitsu! Otone, not Hanzo, dashed out of the row house. She seemed to be in a panic, although it was hard to say why. For some odd reason she blinked when she saw us. Mitsu's missing. Oh, why are you... Otone, is something wrong? Has a form folk carrying a sword stopped by your house? No, I haven't seen anyone like that. It's true. Doesn't look like anyone's here. While I made sure Otone was safe, Yuichi whispered as he peeked inside the row house. You said Mitsu just now, right? Did something happen to your form folk? Mitsu, she... Otone looked crestfallen at Yuichi's question. It can't be... I couldn't help but notice her change in mood. What on earth had happened to Otone and Mitsu? We stepped inside the house, where the smell of dashi soup stock wafting in the air whet our appetites. A fire was burning on the kitchen stove, where a colorful assortment of scallions, parsley, and tuna was bubbling away inside a pot. I'm sorry, were you eating? No, tuna scallion hot pot is Mitsu's favorite. I was hoping she'd come back home if I made her favorite food. But she's not a cat or a dog. No, but you guys kind of treat form folk like they are, fairly enough. But, like, not fairly enough, but you know what I meant, like, fair enough game. You're treating them like they are, like, but, you know. Otone smiled sadly, looking positively worn out. She's not a cat or a dog. Again, you treat them like their possessions, so I mean, guess it's fair enough assumption to call her a cat or a dog. It's really not, but it's a little bit better than, like, my acting like they're your possession. At least a cat or a dog is a living being, you know? But still. She'd recovered after we solved the Kamakiri case, and I'd seen her out walking with Mitsu many times. At this rate, however, she'd be laid up in bed again. And just checking, she didn't run away from home, did she? I don't think so. It was life as usual, so she wouldn't have had any reason to leave. I'm sure you both have heard about all the form folk who've disappeared lately. I told Mitsu to be careful, too. We're both just like, blink, 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 don't say anything. Yoichi and I instinctively shot each other a look as we listened to Otone speak in her wispy voice. When was the last time you saw her, Otone? Yesterday afternoon, before I left to do some shopping. There was a street hawker out front, so I left Mitsu behind to go outside for a little while. Did any of the neighbors see someone stop by while you were gone, or see Mitsu leave on her own? A servant from a nearby shop was in the house when Mitsu disappeared. You don't mean... Apparently he was just drunk and entered the wrong house by mistake. He left immediately. Other than that, nothing unusual happened. At first I just thought Mitsu left to draw some water. Hanzo's tracks definitely lead inside, but they cut off here. There's no doubt in my mind that he came here. But where did he go? And why did he come here? If he went out of his way to get Mitsu, then something's definitely wrong here. Or maybe the servant really had nothing to do with it. Are you okay? You're making quite the face. She really is. She is like her face is like, I'm sick of this bullshit face. Oh, I am? Then just focus on your role here. No need to act like a cop and rack your brain over this. Okay. Is it really that easy to tell I'm thinking? That's embarrassing. Still, I relaxed a bit after Yuichi told me this. It might be gibberish to me, but the meaning behind Hanzo's actions could become clearer with the collective knowledge of the Oniwaban. I knew it. You're investigating the missing form folk, aren't you? Otone said, having figured it out based on our questions and our conversation just now. Do you think the form folk carrying a sword you mentioned earlier might have taken Mitsu? Well, he definitely had something to do with it. Well, he has the ability to control form folk, so there's a chance he bewitched Mitsu. Be careful if she comes back all of a sudden. I don't think she'd cause you any harm, but you never know what'll happen until we take the culprit down. Otone was painfully silent after Yoichi's warning. Of course she was. Who would be fine after hearing their loved one had been kidnapped and might be under someone else's control as we speak? Please, catch this person and bring Mitsu back to me. Otone raised her head and looked directly at us with tears in her eyes. We've caused you nothing but trouble, and yet here I am making unreasonable demands. I'm terribly sorry. But although it pains me to say it, I can't save Mitsu on my own. We're all counting on you. Please, I'm begging you. Otone lowered her head as if she were going to prostrate herself on the floor, but then she broke down in tears. Otone, the best I could do was stand close beside her, but in my heart I swore to make her wish come true. I know it's hard, Otone, but make sure to eat and take care of yourself. Mitsu would be terribly worried if she came back and saw you looking gaunt. Thank you, Spacey. And you too, Yoichi. Me? Yes, you. I actually went to the magistrate's office to report Mitsu missing this morning. There were a lot of other people in the same situation. I managed to file the report, but not one person listened to my story or told me what was going on. I'm so blessed you came. Oh, okay. Blunt as ever. Still, I was glad. I wasn't sure what would happen for a moment there, but Otone seemed much more positive when we parted ways. Take care, you two. We will. And you, Otone. After we left Otone's house, Yoichi and I relayed what happened after we followed Hanzo's tracks. The three of us put our heads together and still couldn't figure out why Hanzo went into Otone's house. We followed these tracks as far as we could, so tomorrow we'll need to find another trail of Hanzo's tracks to follow. All right, no one's around. As usual, I entered the house from the back door so nobody else could see me, then headed straight for where Kuga was. However, he's not just sitting staring at the wall. The lamps were lit, but I didn't see Kuga anywhere. What? I checked the restroom and the washroom immediately afterwards, but I didn't find him there either. Baby girl, where are you hiding? Don't you hide from Mom! There's no way he would have disobeyed orders and left the house. Maybe something happened while I was gone. Nervous, I ran around the huge mansion looking for him when... Oh. I heard the sharp, rhythmic sound of something slicing through air. The moment I picked up on that familiar sound, my racing heart instantly calmed down. I'm just a little upset that, like, they had Kamame in the very beginning of this, like in the comment section, and then we go live here, but we don't bring Kamame with us. So she's just we just left her there. You know what I mean? Like, Tojo is basically like, take care of her for us. And we had her in the common route for Castletown, but like now we're not, she's not here with us. Like that's bothering me. Like, I was giving you points, game, for like the fact that when it's like, oh, Kamame's sitting on his head, the sprite's updated to Kamame sitting on his head, and that's fucking adorable, and like whatever. But now you've just basically forgotten she exists. And like that's a little bit of a fail, and I'm upset about that. You know? Because you could have had Komame sitting there to keep watch on him. You know what I mean? You watch him while I'm gone, bird. He's huffing and puffing. I should have known. I followed the sound out into the garden where I found the person I'd been looking for. Ooh, CG. Oh, look at how beautiful he looks in the moonlight. Lovely. The wind scattered the clouds, covering the moon, and illuminated Kuga, who had been standing in the dark until then. Look at him, he's beautiful. The sight took my breath away. I mean, it's a nice one. All he was doing was practicing his sword strokes with a serious expression on his face. He hadn't done it in a while, but much like his reporter's diary, I'd seen him doing this many times before. And yet, I couldn't take my eyes off of him. 'Cause he's beautiful. I almost didn't want the moment to end. I wanted to watch him do this forever. I'm not sure how long I stood there. Phew. Swing after precise swing, never missing, even by the slightest amount, Kuga let out a small sigh and lowered his sword. Then he sheathed it in one sweeping motion and... What is it? Huh? Kuga suddenly turned towards me and spoke, snapping me out of my daze. Did you know I was here the entire time, Kuga? Yes. I noticed the second you arrived. What? I was instantly embarrassed. Embarrassed that he knew I'd been staring at him, and embarrassed that I'd been admiring him. I was admiring him, wasn't I? That might have been the first time I'd ever gaped at Kuga. No, anybody like that. I'm so sorry. I meant to say something. I don't mind. I did as well, but I just wanted to get it to a good stopping point first. Why were you watching me in silence, though? You were just so pretty in the moonlight. I like the exclamation point. He asked the one thing I was really hoping he wouldn't ask. Because, just tell him I was just fascinated watching you practice. Yes? Because you were pretty. Because I didn't want to get in the way. Because you were pretty! I want to say it so bad! This is the best fucking answer in the game ever! Did we have a moment in Tojo's where we had a... I don't know, but like right now, this is great. This is perfect. Because you were pretty. I don't know if any game has ever let us say shit like, please let me say this, goddammit. So happy. We get to say because you were pretty. So it's like the greatest moment of my life right now. I love this so much. I needed this. I needed this after the week I've had at work. I really did. Oh my god. Oh. But because you were so pretty. I knew this would happen. I knew saying something like that would only confuse him, but I told him the truth instead of coming up with something on the spot. After a brief period of silence, Kuga asked just to make sure. Pretty? Me? Yes. In what way? What happens when you tell a robot he's pretty? He's like, how so? Please explain, does not compute. My face was already burning up, but it got even hotter when he immediately fired back with that question. have to answer?
You don't want to?
I mean, I really don't want to answer it. The thought of leaving Kuga filled with questions after saying something weird did make me feel guilty, though, to be honest. Besides, I'm sure Kuga would understand my thinking if I just explained it to him. All right then, no shyness. I gotta hold my head high. You looked so pretty while practicing your swings.
He's like, still not getting it.
Kuga listened carefully with a very serious expression on his face. Since he didn't say anything back, he must have thought I still had more to say. I guess that means my explanation wasn't convincing enough. Okay then. Your hair and sweat were sparkling in the moonlight. Your gaze was so sharp as you looked forward, and you had great posture. Also, you're beautiful to begin with, so the moon glowing on you wasn't hurting. And when you swung your arms up, I caught a glimpse of your arms, and they were really, like, buff? He's just, like, trying to compute, and she just keeps going. Girl, just let the silence happen. I know, it's an awkward silence. Oh, no.
Buff?
Ah! I was so completely and utterly embarrassed. I wanted to bury my head in my hands. I just love the fact that we got to tell him he was pretty. Oh, God, he stepped closer to me. Kuga also rapidly approached me as I said all of this. And what's the matter, Kuga?
You were so quiet I couldn't hear you. Did I mishear what you said, or did you say I was buff?
You didn't. I didn't have the courage to say it to his face a second time, though. A few anxious wrinkles appeared in Kuga's brow since I couldn't bring myself to respond to him. Be like, squeak out a...
I don't get it. I've always been a far cry from anything one would call beautiful.
Oh, you don't look in mirrors often, do you? I will be the judge of what you are, and you are beautiful, okay? Shut up and take it. Huh?
You said my hair and posture were pretty. Isn't that a word you'd only use to describe popular courtesans or shop girls?
Oh, he's so confused. He's like, aren't only girls pretty? No, men are allowed to be beautiful too.
Or kabuki actors. I wouldn't question it if I had Kinji's good looks. I mean, Kinji is... we're goddamn ridiculously beautiful, not gonna lie. But it doesn't seem like an appropriate fit for me.
You're still beautiful. You might not be Kinji beautiful, but you're you beautiful. It's a different type of beautiful, but it's still beautiful. Like, we still love you to death. You know what I mean? Kinji is goddamn ridiculous, though. It's, like, unfair. Kuga said all of this so assertively, but I couldn't help but tilt my head in confusion. Like, Kuga's beautiful, but he's also a robot, and that together is why I love him. Yuichi's pretty, and he's a bit of a bitch, and that's why I love him. It doesn't even matter what Kinji is, it's just like, shut up, I just want to look at you. Don't talk. Just shut up and look. Just shut up and look pretty. Okay? Like... He's also a little bit of a bitch, which just not hurting at all, you know? Is that right? You don't find anyone pretty except for people attractive enough to have portraits done?
I'm not so sure about that either. I've simply memorized beauty as whatever things most people call beautiful.
It's true. I mean, he doesn't have his own opinions on it. Oh, right. Beauty was something you felt with your heart. That's why Kuga had never personally found anything pretty before. I can try to explain it to him all I want, but he still won't get it. There are many different types of beauty, Kuga. No. It's not that he won't get it. He'll comprehend it in his brain, but he won't understand the feeling. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to understand and going, oh, I get what you're saying because I can relate, as in I have experienced that before. He's not going to have that kind of understanding, but he's going to go, I hear the words that you're saying. They have computed in my brain space. I comprehend the words, but I have never felt that. You know what I mean? It's like with people, anybody, not robots like them, vessels, whatever.
You know what I mean? When you're like, I understand. No, you don't understand because you've never been through this. And it's like, you don't have to have gone through something to understand it. You can comprehend and empathize and feel for someone and go, I understand what you're saying, and I can put myself and say, yes, that would be a really difficult thing to be in. Do I 100% have the exact experience as you? No. So I don't understand your experience on the whole, but I understand what you're trying to say and convey and communicate to me. And that's what annoys me when people like it's one of my pet peeves, my biggest one, like when people say I understand and everybody gets pissed. No, you don't. People, you don't understand what the word understand means if you're going to get mad at someone for saying they understand. They're not saying I have 100% been in your shoes. They're saying I comprehend the words you're saying and the emotions you're trying to convey to me, and I can empathize with you and say, yeah, that situation would suck and I wouldn't want to be there, and I get what you're trying to convey and how difficult that might be, even if I've never been there before. There are people who absolutely cannot fucking understand. You know what I mean? Like, billionaires do not fucking understand what it's like to fucking live paycheck to paycheck, and they never fucking will because they don't even try to compute. So there, but like most normal people can try to compute the things that you are saying and go, I have never been in this position before, but I'm trying to put myself in my imaginary brain space in that situation and go, fuck yeah, no, I feel for you. Yeah, no, that would suck. I get what you're trying to say. You know what I mean? Understand does not mean 100% have experienced that. It means I comprehend what you're saying. You know what I mean? So like her being like, oh, he's not going to understand. He will understand in his brain space. He'll go, I get the logic behind what you were saying. But I have never experienced it and will not experience it, so I will not understand the emotional side of it. You know what I mean? He can understand at 50, you know? And types. Yeah, not to mention everyone has their own opinions about what they think is pretty. Some say blue skies are pretty, while others call freshly cooked rice pretty. Some are even smitten with rocks they find on the ground. There's nothing weird about me calling you pretty. You really are. Oops, I didn't mean to hammer that point home. As embarrassed as I wanted Kuga to know he was pretty too. It's so adorable. Like, though, you're like, I just want him to know how pretty he is. Of course, Kinji and the women who were popular around town were also very pretty, but to me, they had nothing on Kuga. See, and that's the difference. Because, like, Kinji is gorgeous. But you have feelings, in, like, for Kuga. She might not quite realize it yet. Kuga is beautiful. And, like, yes, if you just look face to face, is Kinji way prettier? Just take a step back. Yes. Kinji is probably, in my the prettiest one in this game. But they're all kind of on even footing when you're like, because like when you're like, but I love Kuga so much that he's on equal footing because look at his little robot personality. I love it. You know what I mean? Stop it. So like, of course she thinks Kuga's prettier because you got little feelings. You got feelings. And I don't blame her. He's adorable. I was in awe watching him practice earlier. Not to mention, I found everyday Kuga to be quite beautiful too. Not just his physical appearance, but his attitude towards life and his duties. And then she's gonna start saying this, and he's gonna be like, you do realize that you sound like you're in love with me, right? Like, you know what? Unlike Tojo, well, I think Tojo, you basically said I had feelings for you, and he was like, I can't communicate, though. I cannot reciprocate. I don't think, or did he comprehend that you might have feelings? I don't know. I don't remember if he did or not, or if she just told him. But I feel like Kuga would never, ever even consider that. Like, Yoichi would be the one, definitely, if you're sure. He's like, you know what, I think you have feelings for me, but, like, you know I have nothing going on in here, right? So, like, maybe stop. I feel like he'd be smart enough to pick it up. Kuga's such a fucking robot. I'm not even sure if you told him he would fucking comprehend it. Like, you know? Although I never put it into words like this before, it felt right in retrospect. I see. I understand now. If people can find beauty in freshly cooked rice or stones on the side of the road, you might as well find me beautiful. Exactly!
I agreed without even thinking about it. Does he think I put him on the same level as rice or rocks? Although we'd strayed a bit far from what I've been trying to say, the fact that he understood that much was enough of a win for today.
I am as beautiful as rice and or rocks.
No, I'm just saying some people find rocks really beautiful. I find you really beautiful. Sometimes rocks are pretty, but you're prettier. Like,
Oh, and did I frighten you that badly not being in my room? My apologies. Next time I'll make sure to leave a note.
oh, no worries. I passed through the garden when entering through the back, so it never occurred to me you might be training. I'm sure we just missed each other. I'm really glad nothing happened to you after all.
Right.
Kuga seemed a bit tense just now when he agreed with me. Well, it's been ages since I last talked to him like I have tonight, even though I was the one who impulsively asked him to chat with me for a little longer. We're getting to chapter 6. Isn't this about the time where, like, Tojo started cracking a little bit? Just a little bit. When we sat down next to each other on the veranda and had a nice, relaxed conversation, I noticed something about him seemed a bit off. He's starting to crack, I think. I think he was already starting before. Just the whole beat, because it's not like, oh, okay, I will be home alone. Where I feel like it might be normal for Kuga to be like, it is difficult to not do his job. You know what I mean? Because, but at the same time, I don't think he'd be acting as weird as she thinks he's acting. You know, being told to like sit this one out until we figure out Hanzo's stuff. Because he doesn't have the emotions behind it. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not far-fetched to think he'd be, you know, bothered. But also, I think it would just be a slight, like, oh, he seems a little, like, bothered about it. But, like, whatever. You know, he's acting weird. His acting weird, I feel like, is because he's starting to get little cracks. Probably because being told he can't do the job that he's supposed to be doing is starting to bother him. Plus, we've been, like, chipping away at that shit, so. I mean, we started the chipping, I feel like, but I think his feelings for not being able to go out on patrol and everything are also forming cracks here. It would have been pointless before, but maybe I should ask him one more time if anything's been weighing on him. No, wait. Weighing on him isn't quite the phrase I'm looking for. Kuga's a vessel. He definitely would have come off worried if he were human or form folk, though. But upon further reflection, I realized my dad and Mimi were the only people I'd ever interacted with this much. In other words, family. I'd also been able to check their emotional threads. Kuga isn't family, and I can't look at his threads to know how he feels for sure either. All things considered, I couldn't rule out the possibility that I was overthinking it. To be frank, I was really nervous that Kuga would get exasperated with me forcing my needless concerns onto him. He's got his eyes closed. Is he sleeping? If Kuga didn't experience worry, that meant he didn't experience exasperation either, so I probably didn't need to concern myself with that. Still, he might keep his distance from me as long as it didn't interfere with his duties if he thought I was a pain to deal with. That would be horrible. But still, either way, I was worried about him at the moment. I absolutely couldn't just let it go. What? Just then I noticed something. Isn't that your wakizashi? Your short sword, not your tachi? Wakizashi, sorry, I said that wrong. Kuga had taken his swords off when we sat down on the veranda. He'd placed both beside him so we could use them right away if anything happened. But his hand hadn't strayed far from his wakizashi the entire time. He always uses the longer one when fighting, though. It seems strange to me, but at the same time I was also surprised, because this was the first time I'd ever really laid eyes upon Kuga's wakizashi. Oh my god. It's a fine blade.
You think so?
Is that... You think that's what... Is that where we're going? You think? We're all on that boat now? That's what that's his object? Because we're going to find out what his object is. Only Tominari was like, look, I'm this pill case. We always find out in their routes. And, like, his hand's on that one. You know what I mean? And it's like, I wonder.
You know? I could see it.
All swords feel special, or I guess I should say that they seem to be imbued with the feelings of whoever made them or owned them. It's almost sublime. I never noticed until just now.
See, and then now she's finding beauty in it. Yeah, I feel like he's gonna be like,
That's me.
he looks a little shocked. You have quite the discerning eye. And I don't mean your ability to see threads.
Huh?
This sword is the instrument I originated from. Told you! I knew where this was going! You're not wrong. It's imbued with an extraordinary amount of its creator's feelings and owner's love. Enough love to create me.
I was so shocked it left me completely speechless. It makes fucking sense. I kind of like that they're doing the little tie-ins, because if you think about it, I don't know how Tominari is like a pill to Tojo, so whatever. But like, if you look at so far with like Tojo being the only one who smokes, he's using the tobacco pouch that he was. You know what I mean? So like he has this thing for smoke. Nobody else does, but he does, because he's always been a tobacco pouch. So it's like that's always been part of him in a way. You know what I mean? You know? And then Kuga being a sword kind of makes fucking sense too. You're like, you know, I could see this. You're very serious, you know, good swordsman, all of that. And like, I mean, everybody else can fight and use swords and stuff, but like the fact that you are like, you know, I mean, you're like, yeah, I see it. I get the vibes. I see exactly where you were going. I feel like they have done a good job with kind of tying the original object to the character, even if it's subtle, but also kind of in a way like you think like with the tobacco pouch, like, oh, and Tojo just being a little free spirited and whatever, and like not as serious. Yeah, okay, I can see that. I guess if you were like, do you think a tobacco pouch would be like a very serious or like just a little fun? A little fun and goofy, probably. All right, I could kind of see that. And like being very serious, like Kuga, absolutely a sword. Yes, very. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't know. Like I just, you know, all the more reason to believe Yoichi is an old man Kane because he is so fucking crotchety. He literally just wants to shake himself at clouds and tell whippersnappers to get the fuck off his lawn. I swear to God. You know what I mean? And Kyoshiro absolutely is a beautiful face because his face never fucking changes. Everybody else has facial expressions. He does not. I'm not sure he ever changed. You're like, you are a beautiful porcelain vase, aren't you? Like, I don't know. I just feel like the objects are making sense for the character so far. And you're like, yeah, okay, I see it. I'm curious how Tominari is a pill case, though. Like, you know, I'm sure we'll see it once we go down this route and we'll be like, okay, wait, all right, I get it. You know, it'll make a little more sense. But anyway, I was so shocked it left me completely speechless. Not surprising. The sword is Kuga's, or is Kuga. However, everything clicked into place when he said this. For a vessel to be born, someone needed to cherish an object enough for it to become a form folk. That must have meant this sword had met that requirement.
I normally try not to use it too much. As you know, there are weak points. Our objects are like your body's pressure points. But tonight, I felt the urge to practice with it.
Aww.
I figured touching the object I came from might help me get back to being my old self.
Back to your old self? See, even he knows something's changing.
Right. I haven't felt myself since receiving orders to stay home, no matter what it is I'm doing. I'm here, but it feels like I'm not. I've never felt this way in my entire life as a vessel.
Which has been how long? Kuga answered my question, but the way he spoke made it sound like he was talking to himself at the same time. See, yes, something is definitely different in him. He's cracking. Meanwhile, he traced the shape of his wakizashi several times, as if he were making sure it was still there. Kuga... I couldn't tell what he was thinking. As a matter of fact, I couldn't tell if vessels even experienced worry or confusion in the same way people in form folk did. Kuga was handling his wakizashi very seriously. To me, he seemed to be desperately seeking an answer to the problem he was wrestling with at the moment. Kuga?
Hmm?
Could you tell me more? How are you feeling right now?
How? I just said, I don't feel like myself, and I'm here physically, but I also have this strange feeling that I'm not here at all.
Wonderful! Keep going!
I have no idea what else to talk about. Besides, why are we talking about this?
Then I'll ask the questions if you don't mind. What do you mean by your old self?
I'm going outside and performing my duties as an Oniwabon. I messed up in multiple senses of the word, and because of that I've placed a huge burden on you, Yoichi, Lord Miyagi, the entire Oniwabon. Not to mention the citizens of Ito. If I hadn't erred, I'd still be able to walk around town. It would have made encountering Hanzo a cinch. If only... If only I'd prioritized taking Hanzo down during the last battle.
Ah. He was dwelling on every single thing as he spoke. Although he sounded just as indifferent as he had when he told me he didn't mind disappearing along with the Blightfall, Kuga spoke haltingly, lost for words at times, which I found touching in its rugged honesty. Actually, Kuga, I had the same thought.
What?
It's been weighing on my mind this whole time. Could I have stopped Hanzo from spreading rumors about you? Should I have gone around claiming you were innocent?
What are you talking about? You couldn't have predicted what Hanzo was going to do at that point in time. Besides, Yoichi would have chided you for sticking up for me, since it would have meant you wouldn't be able to walk around town either.
But how is that any different from what you just said, Kuga?
What do you mean?
I mean, thinking you should have done things you couldn't have. It's pointless to think about since we can't change the past, but it doesn't feel pointless to you right now, does it, Kuga? Worried lines creased Kuga's brow. Oh, look at his little sad face. Hold him and pet him. I never noticed until we had a long face-to-face chat like this, but Kuga was a bit more expressive than he used to be. 'Cause he's got cracks.
Guess I've finally gone mad. I just warned you it was pointless to regret the past, too. But as you've pointed out, I'm caught up in things that there's no point in thinking about. It's distracted me. That must be why I've been feeling all over the place.
Possibly, and... how do I put this? Right now, you're probably thinking you're a burden to everyone, that you've got to do something, but there isn't anything you can do. So now what? Or something like that, right? Which has you feeling down?
Right.
I knew it. I was probably bearing witness to a historic moment right now. Kuga was clearly worried, and confused, and stumped. Even though he was a vessel, even though his heart was sealed, he was worried, confused, and stumped when faced with a problem he couldn't do anything about. Now that we've cleared that up, I think I know how I can help. And that's the thing, like, your heart is sealed, but again, doesn't mean you don't have emotions. You know, I was no stranger to the frustration eating away at him right now. Or rather, the emotion was an obvious one to anyone with a heart. I went about this in a very roundabout way under the premise that Kuga was a vessel. First of all, I want you to know something. I don't think you're a burden at all. What I said earlier was just a figure of speech.
It was? It felt like you were reading my mind when you said that.
Well, I was, but that's why you're in a funk right now. Think back to when I just arrived in Ito. You didn't treat me like a burden, did you? I was weak, didn't know my way around. I was just a little girl from the countryside.
But aren't we talking about two completely different things?
They're not so different. You probably thought I'd come in handy because of my powers, right?
Indeed. Something along those lines.
Well, you're strong. Yuichi and Miyagi trust you, and you've always been very good to me as a junior member of your team. So everything's fine. Do you agree with me on that? I pressed him to achieve the very first step, clearing up his misunderstanding. Hugo was silent as usual, pondering my statement.
Understood. If you insist, then I accept it as your opinion on the matter.
Great! I seem to have broken through to him after all. Thank you. Now for the issue at hand. Like I mentioned earlier, you're in a funk right now. You're depressed, worried. You feel different from before and can't focus on what's in front of you.
Well, no, but I'm a vessel. I have a physical body and a soul, but no heart. If I felt the way you just described, I'd essentially be human. My existence as a being who slays Blightfall would be in peril.
Kuga's tone was much sharper than before as he denied what I'd said. Stop it. No biting on my headset. Stop it. I'm sure Kuga had seen townsfolk feeling worried or depressed. In other words, he understood it conceptually, yet he failed to realize he was in the same situation himself. Maybe being a vessel was never that ironclad in the first place.
Pardon?
It's not that vessels don't have hearts. Your hearts are simply sealed away, just like your memories of being an object. If a vessel's memories come back to them, their heart could too, even if nothing's wrong with the seal, and if that happens, the vessel is disposed of. So obviously you must have a heart, and its presence is so powerful it's difficult to suppress. Hugo was silent, looking almost furious. I'd never seen him make that face before. He looks more sad to me, but for someone like Kuga, who takes his role as a vessel very seriously, that must be hard to swallow. That was probably exactly the reason he'd been worrying himself sick, unable to pinpoint what caused these changes in him. After a long silence,
You only ever seem to see things I can't see coming. You truly do. A lot of what you said was strangely convincing.
Really?
Really. Listening to you reminded me of a few things I found odd.
As he said this, Kuga lifted the short sword he'd had in his hand on the entire time. He pulled it out of its sheath, its mirror-like blade sparkling as it caught a faint moonbeam in the darkness. Oh, it was a beautiful sword. It had a mysterious charm to it, as heart-stoppingly beautiful as it was spine-chillingly terrifying.
And the signature... I'm assuming it's Tadamine Asama, is inscribed on the tang of this wakizashi. It seems to be the name of the craftsman who made it. I've looked up Asama in an attempt to find out what kind of person he is. I thought it might be the name of the owner. In other words, my old owner. But if that were the case, the name would have been erased before the sword was given to me.
What? I hadn't expected to hear him say this. What made you decide to look him up? You weren't curious about your past, were you?
Of course not. I just wanted to know who forged it because it's such a fine blade. In spite of my efforts, however, the name didn't seem well known. I learned nothing about him in the end.
He sheathed his wakizashi once again. The sound it made had a lovely, clear quality to it. Kuga set it down next to him before turning and looking at me directly in the eye. And looking me directly in that, not looking at me directly in that. Anyway.
It must sound strange to you, admiring the remarkable craftsmanship of this sword and finding out who forged it have nothing to do with exterminating Blightfall. My reason for doing it was different from the diary I keep to better understand the townspeople's hearts. I did it for myself.
Once again, I was floored listening to Kuga speak. Stop trying to buy my headset. What do you want? That must have been the one and only time Kuga had ever done something because he wanted to. Of all the many memories he would never forget, it had left that strong of an impression on him. After talking to him, I understood what he meant earlier. This was what they meant by vessels' hearts being sealed away. Since it was commonplace among vessels, as well as Kuga, it was wrong of me to pity them for it, logically speaking. But even now that I understand this, Kuga's worrying, and the one time he's done something for himself, wasn't it a little strange that he treated these things as sins, like things he shouldn't have done?
Spacey, I'd like to hear your opinion. What do you think I should do next? As an abject failure, should I ask Lord Miyagi to dispose him?
I think you should work on getting back on your feet. I hadn't meant to shout so loud. He almost wished for his own death just now. Getting rid of him was out of the question. I had to somehow convince Kuga that he was fine and ought to be more positive.
What do you mean?
Let me explain. When people feel down, they don't keep worrying forever and ever. They try to fix whatever's worrying them.
I see. And by taking incentive, I can alter my situation and rid myself of whatever is causing this. Makes sense.
Something along those lines, yes. You were probably worried all this time because you didn't realize you were worried in the first place. So please, think of yourself as being an even more amazing vessel than you were before. Once you know your own weaknesses, you can protect yourself and be careful about not exposing them to much, just like your sword.
You always take it so seriously when I say I should disappear. Would it really be that painful for you if I did?
What?
Well, that does make sense. It's far more convenient having even one more person around who's capable of taking on Blightfall.
That was a surprise. Look at his little smile. I almost thought he was teasing me just now, which startled me pretty badly. I don't know if he knows how to tease you, but also, he's like, oh, yeah, one more. But look at his little happy face. Oh, his little soft smile is adorable. But isn't it obvious? The painful part would be losing a dear friend. I wanted to spell this out for him, but I was still so panicky that I couldn't calm down enough to speak.
I get it now. I can't seem to produce adequate results as part of the Oniwabon after all my mistakes, but I'm not such a failure as to warrant being disposed of. If anything, losing a vessel who can fight under the current circumstances would be a much bigger problem. I was wrong.
Right. I'm glad you understand.
I find that very strange. When you said I was worried, I thought the spell they cast on me might have broken.
It probably is cracking.
That alone would have been fairly serious, and yet you went as far as to say the spell was obviously imperfect from the start.
Oh, Koga, that's not quite... Maybe the seal isn't on your heart, but on your ability to sense that you have one. It would just be really hard to tell because our thoughts all come from our own minds. For now, I think we should just focus on protecting ourselves from the Blightfall's mind contamination.
I see. Assuming that were true, it would explain all the strange things that have been happening to me. We won't have the opportunity to know the truth since we work for Ito, as well as our Lord. Nothing wrong with rationalizing it, however.
Now I really get what Yuichi said. Kuga both was and wasn't vessel-like. It was the perfect way to describe him, which was why I found myself smirking in spite of myself.
Spacey, I owe you my thanks. My pent-up feelings are gone now thanks to your help. My situation is no less inconvenient, but that doesn't mean all means of escape have been blocked off.
Oh, yeah, sounds about right.
Thanks. Sorry to get right to it, but could you tell me what you learned while you were out investigating today?
Sure. There were actually a ton of developments today. The only thing is that There were actually. Okay, yeah, no, that's what... Okay. The only thing is that we've already followed all of Hanzo's tracks, so we've lost his trail.
Really now? Well, I'd like to ask you about it in more detail. We should go inside.
Good idea. The wind's gotten chilly, so we should head inside before we Right after I said that, a strong wind blew through. At that moment, I heard a bang, like the back door had slammed open. Huh. We use the back door all the time, so I knew it was locked more securely than the front. It was also hidden. You couldn't tell that you could enter at a glance. And I'd made sure to lock everything up when I used it earlier before heading towards the house.
I'll go check it out. If everything's fine, I'll call you. If I don't, go out the front and summon Lord Miyagi and Yoichi.
Kuga could probably tell how I felt by the look on my face. Without waiting for me to say yes, he put his sword on his hip, then immediately headed for the back. Afterwards, a short but stifling moment went by.
Come here, Spacey.
Kuga, was everything all... Oh. My heart nearly stopped when I saw the back door open. I could see Hanzo's tracks there. And as I expected, Kuga seemed to grasp the situation by the look on my face.
Is Hanzo here?
Yes, I have no doubt these are his tracks. I don't think he's inside. The tracks stop at the entrance. Where are they coming from? I had a bad feeling about this. I timidly poked my head in through the back door and peeked at the narrow path we used when walking around in the area. And when I did, I knew it. Kuga, I'm so sorry. It looks like he followed me home. However, the tracks don't go inside. It almost looks like he went back home after coming where your house was. So unless he's able to erase his tracks, do you think he'll come back with some of his pals? We'll be in danger if he does. Should we move to the Oniwaban base? Oh, but he might attack us outside. I definitely need to go get help. My hands grew colder and colder as I spoke. Took everything I had not to break down, knowing my mistake had put Kuga in danger.
Spacey.
Kuga then grabbed my shoulder, making my heart squeeze in on itself even more. I'm so sorry. I should apologize.
Not at all. And you did me a huge favor, Spacey.
Come again?
And now I can make a move on Hanzo. If he comes here, I can engage in battle with him. If he doesn't, I can follow him to wherever he's staying, using the tracks he left. I've broken free from just sitting around twiddling my thumbs.
He's got a point. When I thought about it that way, it definitely could be perceived as a good way out of the distress he was currently wrestling with. But it's nighttime. If Hanzo and his friends attack us now, you'll be in a ton of danger.
Indeed. Go call Lord Miyagi and Yoichi as soon as you can. I'm curious where Hanzo's tracks lead, but we can check after we've survived the night.
Maybe the vessel heart sealed theory I came up with isn't necessarily wrong after all. For him to be this calm at a time like this, something absolutely had to be sealed off. Or that's what a human like me thought, at least.
He's not coming, is he?
I guess not.
Yeah.
Contrary to our predictions, Miyagi and Yoichi came running, but Hanzo never attacked. Although I was personally relieved the Castletown team managed to convene before anything happened. That's definitely a problem.
What do we do now that the enemy knows where you live? It would have been just fine if he attacked today.
The problem's that they let him be.
Sir, do you think we should attack them instead? Hanzo's tracks haven't disappeared, so it should be quick work figuring out where he is. Naturally, I would accompany you. You? I don't know. That sounds a little too dangerous to me.
Hey, Spacey, which direction did you say Hanzo's tracks went after leaving the house? I wouldn't consider it confirmed since I still haven't followed them all the way, but it seems like they were headed for Castletown. See? Told you his hideout's somewhere in Castletown. There's the absolute worst place for you to be walking around. Or that, sorry. Or are you going to sneak around town in the middle of the night when everyone's fast asleep?
I know it's a terrible time for me to be walking outside. I'd like to accompany you because my presence alone will make it less likely that Hanzo flees.
Less likely Hanzo flees? What, you think he'll run from battle?
I do. I'm his target, and if I'm not there, Hanzo will use any means necessary to leave the front lines the second he realizes he's outmatched. And the reason being that he won't be able to accomplish his ultimate goal of getting revenge on me. But if I'm...
Ah, got it. He might stick around to try to fight.
Exactly. I doubt we'll have many opportunities to attack. We should gamble on this one chance we do have. In that case, having me sit out isn't even an option. Are there any good ways I could join you in battle?
Really twisting our arms, huh? I agree with you, but it still won't be easy. True, people will act like you're being paraded around before your execution if they see you walking around outside. Yeah, definitely. With everyone on edge right now, someone like Genjiro, who they think is the scum of the earth, would be the perfect outlet.
I don't mind one bit if they attempt to throw rocks or spit on me, but we have plenty of other problems to consider.
Sheesh! Even if he managed to avoid inciting violence or any blightfalls spawning along the way, Hanzo would still probably find out Genjiro was heading for him. That wouldn't be good. Maybe you should cover your face or something. Genjiro, just Oh, you're onto something! What?
And did you come up with an idea, Spacey?
Hold on. Don't you dare say he should wear a mask. His build would totally give him away. I wasn't going to. If we want to settle this, our only option is to travel without letting anyone realize it's Kuga. And to do that, all we need to do is prepare one of those... One of those? Who's both? Because there's 3 people there. One of those these things. Yeah, okay. I was like, whatever they called them. When we saw them passing in the street and we had the whole conversation about it, I was like, is that where Hanzo's hiding in one of those? No, okay, we're going to use it to hide Kuga. Okay, I knew I was going to come back, though. This was what I meant when I'd said one of those last night. Oh, we're in it with him. Look at the little CG that came out of nowhere. Oh, it's so cute. Are we sitting in his lap? And he's like, this is awkward. Your legs are on my lap. Oh. It's cramped in here and we're so close to each other. That's why she looks awkward and he looks awkward. But it's so adorable. It wasn't just close. It was literally sitting on top of Kuga. I love it. Or I guess I should say my butt was in his lap as he sat cross-legged. Why, you ask? Well, we were crammed into a tiny, cramped litter. Oof! This is really, really heavy. All the weight shifted over to this side. Ah! Oh, and we fall into him. Oh, I love it. Hold me closer. My entire body weight was pressing up against Kuga now. Oh yeah, not for me. Right, Tominari? Well, it's not that bad. Oh my god, Otaro and Tominari are here. Well, it's easy for you guys because all the weight's on my side. Now it was Kuga leaning up against me. Thankfully, he had his hand pressed against the wall, but he only narrowly avoided kissing me by accident. Oh, hi. I would like to see that. Come on.
My apologies.
No worries. It took me a while to finally spit out the word no, but I was so nervous my voice was shaking. Sorry, Yuichi said it was heavy, so I thought I'd do him a favor and shoulder a bit more of it on my end. I actually had a pretty good balance going until you moved it all weird. Oh, Kuga looks so sad. Kuga was leaning his entire body up against me again.
It's been a pretty bumpy ride, and not much we can do since these litter bearers are total novices.
True. I stuttered again. Never in my wildest dreams did I think this would happen when I proposed this idea. You heard me. Yesterday, everyone reconvened at the Oniwaban base after waiting all night for Hanzo, only for him not to show up. And when I presented my idea,
Carry Genjiro in a litter.
yeah, we could get one with a bamboo screen or one that's like a tiny room with a roof and walls. As long as we keep Kuga hidden, it doesn't matter. Oh, look, there's our boyfriend. When Tominari and I followed Hanzo's tracks this morning, they led to the alley where Hanzo last attacked Kuga and I. Tominari and I were following Hanzo's tracks? When did Tominari... You mean Yoichi? I feel like that's a typo. I don't think Tominari and I did that. There were also several sets of tracks coming to and from the back entrances of a merchant's home nearby. Okay, so, I mean, maybe... Well, because last night we're presenting the idea... I mean, like, it's possible we could have gone out with Tominari, but, like, when? And so I don't know if we, like, missed a day, and now they're just, like, filling us in on what happened the next day, but then they're like, last night when I presented my suggestion. So is this, like, we were at Kuga's house, and then another whole day went by, and now this is the day after that? Or, like, did they just fuck up with the translation and put Tominari's name in there instead of Yuichi? I don't know, but anyway. So, in other words, that's the Blightfell's stronghold? Yes, according to the neighbors, the people who live there have been away on a pilgrimage to Issei's shrine. They left a few form folk behind to mind the house. Okay, I mean, it makes sense if we had gone out, because, like, we didn't have this interaction with Yoichi seeing this house. So it makes sense if, like, we were at Kuga's house waiting for him to show up, and then the next day I patrolled with Tominari, found his tracks, and then this is like, you know, whatever. So it makes sense if that's what they're trying to do. So I'm guessing that's what's happening. Those are optimal conditions for Hanzo to hide. We'll absolutely need both Kuga and a litter to raid the house. Please, guys, could you lend us a hand? With Yoichi serving as my guard, I bowed sincerely on behalf of Kuga, who was still at home. Miyaji approved of my idea and told the other teams why Kuga would be crucial to this battle. I hope they're in favor of it, too. A litter? It definitely would allow us to transport Genjiro without anyone knowing. What Mitsuhige said makes sense, too. Oh, look, and there's Kinji. I can't carry him, though. Too many people know my face. I dare say as many as Genjiro, the man of the hour. Can't remember if that's exactly the voice we were giving him, but it is now. True. A lot of people would probably notice you if you were one of the litter bearers, Kinji. As far as who else we could ask... We should have enough, right, Kyoshiro? Correct. At least enough to arrange for the litter. We'll have the full Oniwaban get to work on this strategy. Thank you so much! God, I love Kyoshiro so fucking much. And do you really think this will work, Miyaji? It's so simple, it's making me nervous. And I love our bitchy little glasses wizard. Like, seriously, he is like this game's version of fucking Harry Potter. Everything will work out fine. Besides, I trust Genjiro and Spacey. I'm sure there won't be any problems. Miyaji. It's settled then. I'll arrange for a litter by this afternoon. Operation Defeat Hanzo will start immediately after. Kinji and I will take a different route to his hideout. Tominari, Kunataka, and Otaro will be counting on you and Yoichi to serve as litter bearers. Carry Genjiro and Spacey. Wait, me too? Obviously. The townsfolk know you as Genjiro's servant. We can't have you publicly leading the litter. You'll need to get in with Genjiro. Verify where Hanzo's tracks lead from the inside. What? I know we're over time, but... That was a flashback. Okay, we'll stop here, because we're 4 minutes over, so we're in the middle of it, but we went from being inside with our CG to our flashback to now we're... I mean, it's still technically kind of the same scene, but there was a transition, so... But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.